Have a good voyage. Semen Retention back once again with yet another video. I decided to speak some truths. As per usual on this channel, I speak a lot of truths. Sometimes the truths are not in line with the zeitgeist about the thing that I'm speaking truths about. And so I'm going to run into opposition and run into a little bit of friction, which is okay. I think that's just natural when you're speaking truths. But then again, it's my truth, right? So it could be subjective and ultimately incorrect. But this is just what I've observed, right? Today, guys, we're gonna talk about semen retention, some of the truths, real truths about this practice of semen retention. Like, comment, subscribe. Of course, we're gonna get into it now, right? So let's talk about semen retention. Ultimately, what is it for the people that are just tuning in because the thumbnail is so attractive, right? So semen retention ultimately is celibacy for a finite period of time, or for however long the practitioner decides to elongate it, right? And what that celibacy involves is lack of self-pleasure, lack of self-release, and lack of release with another person in the intimate way, with the intermingling of the reproductive systems, right? Male and female, or whatever the new people are into, right? But that's really what it is, abstention from that. There has been a lot of things that are being perpetuated on the internet about this practice, as in, like, it could rise you to the heights of the gods from Mount Olympus, right? Just like how the archangels perceived life, you will eventually get to that level of understanding through the practice of semen retention. All you have to do is continue transmuting that force that is constantly being absorbed by the body through day-to-day actions, and maintaining your stance of celibacy, and eventually you'll get there. And it's a compounding effect. That is true to some degree, but in terms of your energy compounding day after day after day after day after day, the longer you get on the practice, that's I would like to say that that's not completely true. I don't think that's right. At least due to my practice, right? I wasn't last year. I'll tell you about my experience. Last year, I did a year and a month or 2 months of celibacy, and I felt strong. I felt clear-minded, but I didn't feel, a lot of these compounding effects. I just felt like I had much more control over my urges and much more control over myself. But a lot of people have started to say, that they've started to feel these compounding effects. And a lot of people are also using this practice of semen retention as a crutch to prevent them from getting into life, the actions of life, the interactions of life. So I'm going to talk about in this video some of the myths of the benefits of the semen retention practice. It seems, right, from the people that are like tuned into the live streams and whatnot, that I'm starting to take a 360 against semen retention, because this time last year, I was completely different. I used to believe a lot of things about, like, one doesn't need a relationship in their lives, with a significant other. That's a lie. It's meant to keep you trapped in the matrix and in Maya, and you will never really advance and ascend, right? And I didn't really look at empirical data, and I didn't really understand a lot about how the world, civilization even came to be. Naturally, it's due to reproduction. And number two, a lot of the people that have created the building blocks for society had families. They had confidants, significant others. And they just, moderated the sexual appetite, which is what it's all about. Ultimately, it's all about moderation, everything in moderation to some degree. Some things just doesn't need to be done. So after doing a lot of study, and then of course there's a lot of things that came about too. I had my own experience recently with a significant other. And it's just like some of the desires that I've started to have. Maybe I'm getting older. I'm 33. Maybe I'm just getting older. But I just think that there's nothing weak or lacking of an individual if they desire a family. I don't think so. I don't think that's bad. You guys could disagree with me in the comment section, but this is just my point of view at this point in time. So anyway, let's talk about some of the myths of this practice of semen retention. The fact that you will gain a lot of superpowers and things like that. There are abilities that come about from semen retention. I'm on the practice right now. I've been on it for I've been going on it for 2 months now. Yep, about 2 months, because a lot of things happened recently. We know this. But anyway, the you gain I'm not going to say you gain superpowers or abilities, but there are some things that you start understanding. I think there's a lot of intuitive understanding about your environment, the people in your environment, and how they would react to certain comments that you would dish out, right? And so you with that preemptive way of thinking, you understand how to move in the environment. I think that that's a very underrated thing that you learn on semen retention. But to be able to a lot of the other things that people have been talking about in regards to like a lot of these like really fictional superpowers, as in they could read someone's mind or things like that. That doesn't work. Granted, it is good. Some of the benefits that I have developed, at least from the practice of semen retention, is skill acquisition. I think that's something that's very, very underrated. I think I pay attention to things a little bit more acutely on the practice of semen retention. And so I understand the information more. Naturally, if you pay attention to something much more diligently, of course, you're going to understand more of it because you're paying attention way more. You're paying more attention to a lot of the details from it. But so I would say that, and then higher stamina, I think more increased muscle growth, because of course, semen retention not only is, abstention, but it's also the retention of the hormone testosterone, which is a muscle building hormone and a mood regulating hormone. When done correctly, I just need to say that. And when I say correctly, there's no edging, there's no peaking of any kind, because a lot of us, another myth, right? I think that people believe that on the practice of semen retention, as long as you are not releasing in any way, then it is fine. You are doing the practice greatly and correctly, which, no, I can't agree with that. What it is, ultimately, semen retention, not only you are abstaining, but you are also making sure that the quality of material that you are viewing is good material. You're not watching anything lewd. You're not watching any adult film content, even though you're not releasing, because that stuff stays in the mind. The brain is incredibly neuroplastic. It's incredibly malleable. And so everything that it is shown to it, whether the input and stimuli from the environment, your outside environment, to the input that you are getting from, the computer screens and social media and so on, that stuff sticks with the mind, and then it broadcasts itself in your waking reality to some degree, or it'll just sort of percolate in your mind and plague you and sort of lead you to an eventual relapse. So honestly, another myth, let's revisit it. I don't think that people should be edging at all or looking at adult film content, especially during times of semen retention, because it's almost as if you're not even doing the practice anyway. There's going to be a leakage, and in your mind, you're still polluting yourself with those highly charged sexual images that's leading to an eventual failure of your retention attempt. So that's another myth. Another myth as well regarding the practice of semen retention is that the longer you are on the practice, the stronger you get, the more powerful you get, and it's a compounding growth, it's a compounding strengthening. And that's not true either. I think after the first 2 or 3 weeks of semen retention, there's a flat line that starts to be reached, because I think the testosterone growth that one gets from retention tapers off, and then that explains a lot of the flat lines that a lot of people are feeling, where they're feeling down, they're feeling lethargic, melancholy, slow and sluggish. They don't feel like doing anything, even though they were retaining. And then they go towards looking at adult film content just to feel that dopamine boost, because a lot of dopamine is not being released in that period as well. And they sort of go back. They fail the practice. They fail their attempt. They fail at reaching their goal. I'm going to tell you also, because there's a lot more myths, but then I'm going to tell you something else. I guess this ties into one of the myths of semen retention. I think that what's been going around on the internet a lot is, which is kind of unfortunate, but it's the tying of the practicing of semen retention with not speaking to women at all. What has been happening in the space on people's personal practices is that people associate women when they're on the practice of semen retention with like these permanent, primordial, perpetually existing obstacles to ascension on semen retention right? On self-actualization, which is completely, I think that's a very, very unhealthy way to look at it. If you maintain this look, because I'm going to be honest, once upon a time, I saw it as such. Like last year, for example, when I was beginning my YouTube journey and I was talking a lot about the different aspects of semen retention, and I was getting a lot of material trying to prove that women are inherently like the daughters of Mara in the Buddha story. They are meant only, even though they have their own experiences, their own souls, they grow up and they have degrees and they're able to pay taxes. I thought that they were only designed by the Creator in order to be obstacles for us men that we have to triumph over. And that's very, very, very unhealthy. If you develop in this world with a mindset like that, you're going to get to a point where you are going to be incredibly bitter and you're going to be doing a lot of preemptive judging on the opposite sex without hearing their story, without knowing their story, only maintaining this belief. And that's going to put you in a world of hurt and a prison of your own making. And it will actually ironically prevent you from ascending too, because ascension is all about acceptance of everything, detachment and acceptance of everything. That's my point as well. And I think that the reason why that viewpoint is percolated too on the internet, especially in semen retention spaces, is that a lot of young men flock to this practice, not because they genuinely want to ascend and understand more about themselves and the environment, but it comes from this inner fear of speaking to women, of immersing themselves in the social experiences of life. A lot of men that come on this practice see themselves as outsiders of a world that don't seek to try to understand individuals of their caliber, that maybe whose emotions do run deep, who want to be understood, who want to communicate and be communicated with, who want to be seen. And that may or may not be true. I think that because I'm an individual like that, I have a lot of love to give. And I like with the situation recently with that guy at the gym that was super angry and was intimidating everyone. And I just went up to him to try to speak to him because I wanted to try to reach out to his spirit, because I felt like there was something up with him that he was going through. And I wanted to try to talk with him, talk through it with him. But so I understand the sentiment of those guys, but to use this practice as a way to automatically par off the opposite sex and not try to understand them and not try to ultimately interact with them is just, like I said earlier, is just going to lead to a whole world of hurt. Dead serious. One thing I'm going to tell you before I end the video that I learned about women and how it helped me with the semen retention practice is that it is through another person. You learn a lot about yourself through self-reflection, through trying to understand, reading books, understanding other people's personalities and what they say about, a good objective personality, quote unquote, and the philosophy of being a good person. You can learn that from books and you learn that from self-reflection, but you ultimately learn about your proclivities and your reflexive behaviors through being with someone else, right? That's with you and understands who you are due to constant interactions with you. And what I learned with at least a recent experience is that true intimacy really unlocks a lot of things. It makes you understand a lot. When you are when you have real solid intimacy with someone where they understand you, you understand them, you have very, very good moments together, very, very good intimate moments together. When you leave a situation like that and you process that correctly, you never want to look towards hookups, sex workers, and adult film content ever again, because you know that you are robbing yourself of the true, real experience that you had. You can indulge in that all you want, and life will permit you to do that. It will not stop you, because it knows that eventually you will come to your senses, possibly, that you are robbing yourself of the real experience, right? And you are only hurting yourself. And so that's something that I learned ultimately. Like that helped me with the practice, because I've been on this practice for, like I said, 2 months currently, and I've been on this streak. for 2 months currently, and I just don't feel an inclination at all to indulge or have random hookups. I really don't, because it's just I'm robbing myself of real intimacy that's out there. That's out there for us all. That if we decided to interact with the environment instead of using a lot of the radical notions and ideas of semen retention as some sort of shield of experiencing life, then we could really get to another level of understanding. Seriously, you guys could disagree with me in the comments. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about it, but this is something that I've realized very, very recently, and yeah, I'm gonna stick with it. So that may let that be what it is, right? So with that being said, that is all I have to say about semen retention today, guys. If you guys enjoy that kind of content, like, comment, subscribe, share the video with some peers. Listen, don't ever let this place get you down. Life happens to everyone. There is no cure-all. There is no practice. There is no chains of belief that shield you from the tumultuous storm and violent tsunamis and calm mists that is life and the amalgamation of the events therein. There is no way. And so one needs to do a lot of self-reflecting and do a lot of attempting to understand what is really going on with themselves in relation to the environment, in relation to events, and learn how to control and moderate your emotions in response to events that happen. Semen retention is perfect. It's beautiful. It's a wonderful practice, but do not lean on it to solve all your problems, and do not use it as a justification to not go out there and experience life, because life is just waiting for you to be experienced by you through it. So that's just what I have to say about that. And stay radiant. Guys, I'm going to see you guys in the next video. Woo!